Well, the Pelosi's are back in the news again. What's going on, guys, and welcome on into the video. Today, we're going to kind of clear up some of the talk about Nancy Pelosi and her husband again now, just because they're talking Tesla stock. And we want to cover a couple of things because Tesla has made quite the run literally just the past couple of days. But I want to make sure we actually understand what they did here, what Paul Pelosi did here, because apparently Nancy Pelosi has no idea what he's doing and doesn't follow along on the trading side of things. It's all Paul, which is her husband. And of course, with the insider trading stuff being in the news, this gets run again. And of course, I also want to mention here, this is not political by any means. We talk about this because it gets a lot of news and there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and it's interesting to talk about. That's all it is. And as you can see by this list right here on unusualwhales.com, there's actually a lot more on the Republican side that tend to do better, actually, in terms of market returns than Pelosi. She's actually the top performing, I guess, Democrat charted here on this list from 2021 in terms of returns. But there actually were quite a number of Republicans who did better. But again, I could care less with the politics behind this. But you always got people who are like, concerned about that. And I don't care. I really don't care. I don't. Okay, here it is. So this is what's funny. This is the headline. Let's unpack this because it's not as simple as it seems. Nancy Pelosi's husband just bought $2.2 million worth of Tesla stock. Now this came out yesterday, this article, the 23rd, so Wednesday. And if you guys have been paying attention to Tesla stock, let's take a look. Here's a quick look at the daily chart on Tesla. Well, Tesla actually, funny enough, has just skyrocketed over the past week and a half, 2 weeks from the bottom. It went from $758 or so up to, now over $1,000. Actually, yesterday it hit up to over $1,040. So Tesla's made a pretty big move from those lows. Tesla has made a move of over 30% to the upside. So yeah, it's like, wait a second here, guys. I mean, it's like, again, you're telling me that they just bought a ton of stock and the second they bought it, it went up? Something doesn't make sense. Obviously, the insider trading, and there's a lot of talk about that. And the Fed's been getting, kind of a lot of pushback, and they've had some new restrictions in terms of who can trade stocks at the Fed. But now it's like, okay, Congress, it's your turn. Let's make some moves here. Let's say you can't do this, you can't do that, or let's, clear up the guidelines here to kind of better fit at least what the public wants. And I think the public is pissed off really as of late about this stuff. But let's understand, what he actually did, and we'll look up the actual documents here too. So Paul Pelosi purchased $2.2 million worth of Tesla stock. Now, obviously, Congress is going back and forth, debating on how they want to ban, or what they're going to do, restrict, members of Congress, spouses, family members from trading stocks, because obviously they have insider information, as we say. But earlier this year, actually, he invested $2.9 million across several companies, which is actually interesting. We can take a look at some of those. So let's do that. So what I do is we go to disclosures-clerk.house.gov. And then from there, I'm able to go to public disclosures and then financial disclosures. And then from here, you can look up anyone in Congress and pull their name up. And then you can get all of their reports and all the things they filed over the past or whatever time span. So I'm looking at 2022 and I've pulled them all up right here. So if we go back, I think we talked about these in a past video. We have some right here of contribution of 3,000 shares to college from Paul Pelosi, so we don't need to worry too much about that. This right here was another transaction report that we have from the Pelosi's. Looks like we have exercising Apple call options, exercising American Express call options, exercising PayPal call options, Disney call options. So exercising a lot of options, and that was back in January. Now, if we keep scrolling through, what we're going to get to is this, and this is where everyone's, up in arms, because this is the most recent report that was filed on the 17th and was done on the 17th, so they kind of got out in a timely manner. This was Thursday of last week, and so if I'm not mistaken. Now, what he did here was he exercised 25 call options, so 2,500 shares that expired the next day at a strike price of $500. So when you're buying an option contract, you are buying the right to purchase shares at the underlying strike price. So in this case, the strike price was $500. Tesla's way above that. He had these call options purchased from a while back. Now, in this situation, what he ends up doing is he now owns 2,500 shares on top of if he owned more in the past or whatever. But now he gets those 2,500 shares at a $500 average cost, okay? But at the time, he still had to pay for these options, and at the time, they were probably somewhat expensive. So it's not like the guy all of a sudden just went into his back pocket or went into his account and just bought this much money in Tesla stock, he had already owned options, okay? He owned in the money options, and he paid less than what they're worth now. And instead of selling those options to just lock in gains on the option contracts, what he decided to do, because he probably wants to hold Tesla longer term, it seems like, is he decided to exercise, and now he owns those shares at a $500 cost basis. So it's, expensive, right? And now he has 2,500 more shares, okay, instead of the option to buy those shares. So it's kind of confusing, but for those who are new to this and new to options, first off, we have a great options tutorial or options for beginners in 2022 video already on the channel. I would highly recommend either search it up or go back and check that video out. But for those who are new, this was going to expire on the 18th of March. So either he didn't do anything and they would have exercised, or he had to exercise these options to get the shares. And so it seems like that's what he did. He didn't sell them, at least we don't know he did. He didn't sell them right now. But what I think is more interesting is if he was to, in this situation, sell these options instead of exercise them. That's where I think it would be interesting, because if he sold them, right, that says, wait a second, he's out of those Tesla. He didn't want to take on the shares, and potentially doesn't want to hold this stock at least anytime in the near future. He might be looking for a lower entry, or he may not like Tesla anymore at all. He might be looking elsewhere. So we got to kind of look and think a little bit, behind the scenes or read between the lines a little bit. But this was done on the 17th, so that starts to kind of, beg the question, wait, when was the 17th? Well, if I zoom in here, guys, the 17th actually happens to be this day right here. So Tesla opened up that day on the 17th at $830 roughly per share and closed that day at $870, and now we're trading at over $1,000. So that's quite interesting, and obviously Tesla's been on a nice tear the past couple of weeks. It broke its downtrend, it's pushing back up, and now I'm looking up here to over 1,060 for potentially a next leg up, and dare I say, if the market stays strong, a possible run at all-time highs up here into that $1,200 to $1,300 range on Tesla if this momentum continues. But again, it's quite funny. I think we find it quite funny. Now, Tesla was coming off the lows. It wasn't like it immediately reversed, but it's quite funny how this was done. This starts getting in the news. They file this information, and Tesla keeps pushing even higher. But just make sure you understand that the guy had already option contracts. He could have sold the option contracts. Instead of doing that, he bought more shares, which in turn makes us believe that he wants to hold these shares, at least for the near future. And so I guess technically speaking, one could say he's still bullish on Tesla, because if he wasn't bullish on Tesla, he would have just sold those option contracts. And as we speak right now, from when he exercised those contracts, Tesla was sitting here at 870. Tesla's now up 15% off of that. So the guy's probably made a couple $100,000 just off of those shares the past couple of days. So there you guys have it. Hopefully that makes some sense. Just want to clear the air when it comes down to that, I guess, news, the article. You've probably been seeing it. If you haven't seen it already, well, now you have, and at least now you can make more sense of it and understand, what's going on here. But I highly recommend, if you don't know much about options, check out the options trading playlist on the channel, or go back to that options 2022 for beginners. It's a very long video, but it's a great thorough guide that goes through pretty much everything you need to know to be up to speed, to start understanding options and even potentially taking your own option trades or investments yourself. Any likes and comments about the algorithm? I appreciate you guys so much for watching the videos. Like always, stay tuned for future videos and future live streams. If you're not subscribed, make sure you go ahead and do so. We're posting here and going live all the time. And I appreciate all you guys for being here. See you guys in the next one. Peace.